गणपतये नमः। ॐ गणपतये नमः। वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। ॐ गणपतये नमः।
जयधारी माँ। हर जीवन अनेक प्रकार के रंगों से भरा हुआ है। बातचीत वही रंग बांटेगी आप सबके साथ। हम सब एक हैं, बस सोच अलग अलग है। बटोर लीजिए उन रंगों को जो भी आप चाहें इस बातचीत से, और ढाल लीजिए अपनी सोच में। यही मकसद है इस बातचीत का। आइए मिलते हैं अपने प्यारे से मेहमान से। अतिथि देवो भव।
जयधारी माँ आप सबको, जयधारी माँ आप सबको गणेश चतुर्थी की हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं। हरे कृष्णा। हम आज शुभा जी से बातचीत करेंगे। उन्होंने उनकी अभी ये किताब आई है प्रभु पे, महाभारत पे। ये कृपा से होता है, ये कृपा से होता है। 100,000 वर्सेस ऑफ महाभारत, एंड ये बुक 1 है। जीवन में युक्ति, भक्ति, शक्ति, मुक्ति चारों चाहिए। हम शुभा जी से आज चर्चा करेंगे, जानेंगे what the Lord tells us about the way of life, how to live. उससे पहले हम एक वीडियो देखेंगे उनके ऊपर, and then we talk to him. जी। Jai Dharima, Hare Krishna, Shubhaji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Very happy and grateful to be amidst all of you all here.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you. Thank
Ji.
you, ma'am.
Shubhaji, all very, very blessed. May Ma bless you, may Lord bless you, Lord Krishna bless you on your incredible journey, because it takes a lot to be doing this. What makes you do this? How do you do it? What goes on in your mind when you're engrossed in reading the Shastras and writing about them? And then when you see such a real world and real life around you, where you can clearly see that we've forgotten how to live, where you clearly see that we don't know the meaning of what it means to be truly alive. And you're so engrossed and you're reading and you're writing. How does it feel?
I personally feel great joy in trying to connect with our scriptures because whenever I talk to people today, everyone has so much they're going through. The Srimad Bhagavatam describes people in Kali Yuga, in today's age, as Shoka Ashru Sagarat. The word, Bhagavatam is very aptly defining the mindset of the people of today's age. The word Shoka Ashru Sagarat, what does it mean? Shoka means lamentation, Ashru means tears, and Sagarat means ocean. So essentially, in today's world, people are filled with so much of lamentation of what has not happened to them or what is, what they want, and there's so much of misery. And as a result, people are crying so much. The result of that is there's an ocean of tears in today's world. If you actually talk to people, everyone is going through so much. And as I have been counseling, guiding, talking to people from across the world, and practically of every age group, I'm finding that there is a lack of hope, a lot of sadness, and a lack of clarity. And I find our ancient scriptures have the power to give clarity, wisdom, and direction to today's world. And by the blessings of my teachers, of my gurus, I've had the fortune of studying these scriptures very deeply and presenting them in a way that modern men can understand and apply in their lives. And I feel very fortunate to do this service to for humanity, because I feel it's a service that is very important, and it's something that is a legacy that we all need to leave behind for the future generations.
Ji. Shubhaji, just taking your thought forward. This is something that is very close to my heart, and I'm trying in my own humble way, I'm trying to practice it. We don't question joy. Why do we question pain? I'm not talking about self created misery. I'm talking about pain. I'm talking about real suffering. I'm talking about dualities of life, uncertainty, which is a reality. We don't question joy. We've never asked the Lord, why am I happy? Why have you given me so much? But we question pain and we question suffering. The second thing, I'm sharing this with you because I think we can take this forward together. The second thing, Shubhaji, is which brings a lot of peace personally, is nishkam karma. Why do we always want something back? Why can't we just do nishkam karma? And the third, which is very, very close to my heart, is following my swadharma. Just doing the next thing that I am required to do. Then the next thing. Then the next thing. If these three principles can be combined, Wouldn't it just make life a bit more calmer, more accepting? Ji.
The reason people are not able to accept pain and misery in the same way that one deals with joy and success is because when one experiences success, one thinks it is due to one's own self. But when one goes through pain, one feels I don't deserve it. And the reason one feels I don't deserve it is because I feel that I am perfect. There is no flaw in me. I've not done anything wrong. So why should I suffer? Obviously, now when we achieve success, do we really deserve that success? If you actually look at it, is all success due to our doing or our efforts? The answer again will be no. We cannot claim that success is due to our efforts, nor can we claim that pain is purely the doing of God. In success there is a hand of God, and in pain there is our hand also. So in one sense, the world is created in a way which is very balanced. So there is our effort in everything, both joy and sorrow. There is the hand of God in everything, both joy and sorrow. And there is our previous karma in everything, both joy and sorrow. In acceptance comes peace. When we go through joy in our lives, we should be grateful. And when we go through suffering in our life, we must definitely be grateful, because suffering is a part of existence. It balances the way our life is. Imagine if we only ate sweets all day long, you think you'll be fine? Obviously not. You will really be miserable in your health, isn't it? Though technically people would love to eat sweets all day long. Similarly, if you're only happy all day long, would you really be would you really be well? The answer is no again. If somebody is just only happy and experiences no suffering, that person will take happiness for granted. Only in the midst of suffering can one really value happiness and value success. That's the way the world is created. And I think accepting that is a very important milestone achievement in our spiritual journey. And that's when we stop blaming God and we start accepting responsibility for whatever is happening to us in our lives. Um, the moment we start accepting it, we start practicing the principles of what Gita is trying to teach us. Nishkam karma is simply the acceptance that whatever I do, I don't do it for myself. I do it for a greater good of society. Swadharma is exactly that. Swadharma essentially means what I can do with my skills, with my ability, with my psychophysical nature, which can benefit society. That if each one of us are conscious of what gift God has given us, and we use that gift selflessly for the service of God, that's what following one's dharma is, and that's what living a life of nishkam karma is. And that combination is what makes us very powerful and very satisfied. And that's the combination that helps us accept even misery that comes into our life gratefully and understand it as our responsibility.
Ji.
What?
Can we? जी मम्मी जी.
Yes, you have a thought. Carry on.
आप बोले मैं बात
I just,
करूं.
I'm curious. He's moved from being a lawyer to a monk to a researcher to an author to a speaker to mentorship to publishing and ISKCON, etc. How, how can one man in one life, and short enough, you're pretty young. You're very young. It's such a wonderful early age. What's made you do? How did you do it? I think many people who would be watching you would like to hear you. What's made you? How did you? Not what, and the how, and the why. The what, the why, and the who. And who, of course, is you. How? I think, what can you send? How can you inspire? Please inspire of your generation, younger generations, that they can do much, much more.
Thank you for asking this question, ma'am. I'll try to share what I went through in my personal life, which helped me reach where I am today. I don't claim that I've done a lot. I feel that I'm just beginning, and there's a lot that I can do and I must do. Um, whatever I've achieved today, it's purely the grace of my teachers, it's purely the grace of God, it's purely the blessings of my parents, it's purely the blessings of so many well-wishers who have come on my path and sincerely wished well for me and blessed me. I began
Who
my
were your
journey
teachers?
as an engineer.
Who were
Pardon?
your teachers? Who were your teachers?
Oh, my teachers. Yeah, um, I consider myself to be a lifelong student, and I have so many amazing teachers in my life, beginning with A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who is the founder of ISKCON, from whom primarily I began learning um, the ABC of spirituality by reading the books of Srila Prabhupada and hearing the lectures of Srila Prabhupada. And then His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, who is my guru and who is my spiritual father. Everything I am and everything I will ever be will be incomplete without his blessings and without his encouragement. I owe my life to him, literally. I have some really amazing mentors in my life, including Govinda Prabhu, who has been my primary source of encouragement and my go-to person whenever I feel low and when I feel lack of inspiration. He is the person I really go to. And in addition to them, they have hundreds of teachers I listen to on a daily basis. I read, I get inspired and nourished from. And of course, my earliest teachers were my parents and my grandparents, especially my father and my mother. A lot of who I am, a lot of the value systems that I practice today are coming from them. And my father was a devout spiritualist right from day one. I learned so much of what I am today from him. And my grandmother was the source of storytelling. Whatever I learned about telling good stories was from hearing my grandmother. So, like this, I have a plethora of teachers whom I have gained from to reach where I am today. When I began my engineering, when I began my career as an engineer, I loved engineering and I learned a lot as an engineer. Primarily, what engineering gave me was logical thinking, and I still use that logical thinking very much in everything I do, including what I speak, including whatever I write, including the way I live my life. There's a lot of logical thinking that defines it. Um, and from patent law, from intellectual property law, from my study of the legal field, I learned analysis. So, all the analysis that I do in my books and all the analysis that I do in my lectures, I credited to my legal degrees, which really gave me that analytical ability. And I studied an MA in psychology, which primarily helps me understand human beings well. And what I feel strongly is whatever I speak and write, it resonates with human beings because I try to understand human psychology. So while I'm writing books on various personalities in our scriptures, I try to relate them to the human level so that it can appeal to the human psychology and help one understand it. And then my experience in my research and PhD helped me go very deep into the scriptures and find things that are jewels that can be presented to the world. So that is how I combine my academic background with what I'm doing today in terms of what I'm sharing. One of the things that I learned from my spiritual teachers, which is not there in any of the books, which is not there in any of the educational spheres, the most important thing that I learned from my gurus and my teachers is compassion. Uh, in education, compassion is missing, and without compassion, um, the world is a pretty mechanical world. And I find that spiritualists are so compassionate and really deeply concerned about the well-being of others. And I find if simply each one of us can become a little more compassionate, a little more caring for the sake of others, for the sake of trying to uplift the world, instead of just trying to uplift ourselves, which is what modern education is teaching us all to grow yourself and uplift yourself. But spirituality teaches one to um, grow not only yourself, but along with you help many others grow and uplift many others. I strongly find that element of compassion is what transforms a human being into something that is very different from what the world understands. For me, my lifelong ambition, aim, and aspiration is simply to serve as many people as possible through my writings and my teachings. I do not aspire anything from it. I do not aspire for fame or money or anything like that, that's not my primary drive. My primary drive is to see satisfaction in people's lives. My primary drive is to help people connect closer to God, closer to themselves, and feel a sense of satisfaction in the lives that they live. And of course, ultimately achieve the ultimate goal of life, which is going back to the spiritual world. But while living in this world, one should live fulfilling lives. I feel that this is a space at which I want to contribute the most. I feel there is a tremendous lack of such people in this world who are concerned about others, who are deeply concerned about the well-being of others. And if I can do anything in that space to truly help people through the wisdom of the scriptures, I would find myself to be most fortunate, and I would find myself to be, I would say, very satisfied.
While I see that you grew in this, your answers say that you grew in it. Your grandfather, you inherited grandfather, father, mother, spiritual teachers. You grew and you sought out these teachers. So was it a blessing, which was environmental blessing you grew in? And then what made you stay on? What made you stay on track, on the same? You could say you said you were engineer, you did lawyering and patenting. Money could have come a long way. Why did you stay on spiritual track?
Um, Spirituality, I find, is almost like a steering wheel for our lives. Spirituality is the force that gives one meaning and purpose in life. The
Define
reason I
spirituality. Define spirituality for the listeners.
In my understanding, spirituality is understanding why you live here, why you exist, what is the purpose of your existence, and what is the goal of your life. Um, most people live highly mechanical lives and live by the clock, and they don't know why they're living. If you just ask them what do you do and why are you living, they'll just give you a lot of external superficial answers, which is like making money. I want to build a house, I want to build a career, I want to take care of my family, which is all byproducts of why you live. So if life is a long journey, if a life is a long movie, most people's lives, if you make a movie on anybody's life today, um, the movie will almost seem extremely boring and have no direction. It's just running in frames of running around, but it's not leading you to a particular destination. So any good movie has to be very organized in a way that it leads you a destination which is very satisfying and fulfilling, and at the end people feel, wow, that was amazing. So if you so most people's lives have no such direction and destination. is just pretty whimsical and unstructured. Spirituality gives you a clear sense of direction, a clear sense of purpose, and a clear sense of moving and organizing all aspects of your life towards a particular destination, towards a particular goal. I personally find that to be very satisfying. And more than anything else, I find that spirituality helps you develop a deeper relationship with yourself. There is a very big difference between loneliness and solitude. A lot of people today in this world are very lonely people. The reason they are very lonely is because um, they have not developed a relationship with themselves. They have not spent time developing a relationship with themselves. And that's why social media is thriving so much, because people are just hankering for relationships. And without understanding that unless and until you develop a deep relationship with yourself, developing a relationship with anybody else in the world it doesn't make any sense. And that's why solitude is so important. Spirituality helps you use your time wisely in a way that every moment of your time, helps you develop a deep relationship with yourself. That's why spiritualists are taught how to utilize time wisely. Most people, if they have a chunk of time at hand, they use it in the most destructive and most unconstructive way. For example, watching a Netflix series, or binging on YouTube and Instagram. Uh, at the end of the day, they don't realize they've done anything with that time. But if someone is practicing the path of spirituality, it gives you a strong sense of a purpose, and especially with your time. And that's what differentiates solitude and loneliness. Loneliness means when you have a lot of time, you feel alone. I don't know what to do with my time. But somebody who is not lonely but who understands the purpose of solitude, he feels, if I have time alone, it's a wealth, it's a great asset, it's a great wealth. And you start looking forward to that kind of time, where you can go deeper, right? So I personally feel that's one of the most powerful contributions of spirituality in my life.
Shubha ji, is living life and spirituality not the same? Because a householder can also be practicing spirituality. You cook, clean, the way you relate to your spouse, your husband, your child, your relatives, what you do with your money, the way you save it, the way you are with your support staff, the way you, everything, the way you dress, sit, talk, eat. It's all spirituality. God has also made us the rasas of life, different rasas of life. If we've seen something lovely on Netflix and we've liked it for the right reasons, we've enjoyed it, we've bought a lovely gadget, we really liked the time, little bit on the Insta and gone little bit of, you've enjoyed your time shopping. Isn't that spirituality? I'm talking now for a householder. Yes. Calm, krodh, lobh, lust, greed, anger, jealousy, comparison. This is the space that needs to be looked at. Contentment. How much is enough? What are you driven by? What are you running after? Aren't we mixing it all up? I Spirituality doesn't take you away from real living. In fact, it connects you more to life.
Let's ask.
Yes,
Let's
doesn't
ask.
isn't that spirituality, Shubhaji?
So let's ask.
Yeah, spirituality is a sense of balance. Anything that
Ji,
is done in extreme is bad.
ji.
If you do, even in fact, Lord Ram says in the Ramayana, when he's having a conversation with Bharat, he's asking him, "Are you doing excess of religion?" And he's asking, "Are you doing excess of sense gratification?" Are you doing excess of earning money? So Ram tells Bharat that anytime anything is done in excess, it's bad, but anything that is done in the in a balanced fashion is good. So whatever God has given us, including enjoying the senses, has to be done in a balanced fashion. If it is done in extreme, then it's harmful. Nothing is bad in this world because it's all creation of God. And that is why dharma, artha, kama, moksha, all four are purusharthas. They're considered to be part of spirituality. But at the
Yes.
same time, if you focus on one of them and neglect the other, so in the name of God, you can't neglect the family, and in the name of family, you can't neglect God. In the name of enjoyment, you can't forget the purpose of life, and in the name of purpose of life, you can't forget enjoyment. So that sense of balance is what is called as art of living. The Mahabharata teaches us the art of living, and that's precisely what I'm trying to present in the Mahabharata, where we're trying to present in a way that it shows a balanced approach towards spirituality, um, but at the same time it gives us a good clarity on the importance of bringing that balance. Any extreme is bad, and any extreme should be definitely avoided.
How best to learn it? The viewers may ask you, I want to lead a balanced life. How can I do it? How can I understand and learn it? What do I do every day on a daily basis?
Yeah. Spirituality talks about Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshantade jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. You begin spirituality by approaching a good teacher. Spirituality is not something that you figure out. It is not self-help. It is something that we learn under a teacher. Find a good bona fide teacher who is himself or herself practicing it. It's not that I give a lecture and I don't practice it myself. It is supposed to be something that is bona fide. You're connected to a parampara of teachers who are themselves practicing it, and you have practiced it sufficiently in your life, and then you have the authority to teach. And when we approach such a teacher, tadvidhi pranipatena, we approach such a teacher with humility and pariprashnena sevaya, ask them relevant questions. Relevant questions is very important, not just randomly any question, basically. Relevant questions. And sit under their feet and hear from them. And more importantly, serve them. Serve those teachers who are imparting wisdom to you, because when you serve them, then that knowledge gets digested. So this is the path of the process of learning spiritual knowledge and gaining realization from that knowledge.
Subhaji, for us, my father is from Babaji's lineage, Guru Nanak Ji's. He's the 15th from the Piri. So for us, our Granth Sahib is the living Guru. I completely understand what you're saying, but let's talk about this. The power of our Shastras, our Granth Sahib, our our uh, our Srimad, our Bhagavad Ji, our Gita Ji, our Bhagavatam, our Ramayana, the Holy Bible, the Quran, the Avastha. Why are we not reaching out to them? Because what you've said is something very beautiful, that we're not asking the right questions. Why will we ask the right questions if they don't suit us? If we are living in denial, why will we ask the right questions? If we are very comfortable doing what we are doing and we know it's not correct, why will we ask the right questions? So why is our Shastras, which are like such a beautiful voice, why are they not a part of our daily life? Because we don't want to hear them, we don't have the courage to read what's written.
One reason is that a lot of our scriptures are in a language that a common man may not be able to understand unless they have great scholarship, unless they have, uh, a lot of intelligence, which is why sometimes people hesitate to directly pick up a scripture and read them. And that's why the medium of good teachers is important, because they make, it's like, the Vedas are like paddy that is grown in the field. There is husk, and the paddy is not something that you can eat directly. The great teachers pick up that paddy and dehusk it, and then cook it nicely, you know add some kaju badam in it, add some masala in it, cook it very nicely, and then feed it to us. Then it becomes the same knowledge that is there in the Vedas becomes in a way that is palatable to us. So we have great teachers who have done that job of dehusking that Vedas. We have teachers like Srila Prabhupada who have actually cooked the rice that is dehusked. And then we have modern teachers who are disciples of Srila Prabhupada and their grand disciples who are adding a lot of masala and a lot of good ingredients to make it even more tastier and palatable. And that's why that knowledge now is digestible, and we can handle it. But if somebody directly tries to approach the source of the knowledge, they may not be prepared for it because they are not equipped and not trained well. So I personally feel that that is the reason why people don't approach the scriptures directly, because they don't have the capacity to digest and assimilate what is there in the scriptures.
Let me come to your book, Shubhaji, your latest book. Has it been released?
Yes, we
Wonderful.
released it a few days back. Actually, on Janmashtami Day, it was released.
What better day than to do that? Now, since it's a undefeatable Krishna, first of all, why do you use the word undefeatable? And then from undefeatable, since you're giving very sharp answers, I thought I'd give you the part B also. What is undefeatable? And give us the life lessons from the life of Krishna. So two questions.
Undefeatable is because Krishna um, is undefeatable in every way possible, whether it is in his beauty, whether it is in his fame, whether it is in his knowledge, whether it is in his strength, whether it is in his renunciation, whether it is in every Aishwarya, every aspect, every opulence. Krishna is undefeatable. There is no one who has surpassed him, and no one who will surpass him. And most importantly, he is undefeatable because the way he conquers people's hearts. You know, everyone who has heard him and who knows him, he wins over their hearts. Defeating a person physically is easy, but winning a person's heart is not easy. I personally feel one of the reasons why I chose this title Undefeatable Krishna is because he really knows how to conquer hearts. And I personally have feel very strongly that um, that is perhaps the most um, heart-winning characteristic of Lord Krishna, and that's why that title Undefeatable Krishna really is relevant, because the way the scriptures describe Krishna and the way the personality of Krishna is, it really aptly defines him. Um, in terms of the lessons that we can learn from this book, from Krishna, especially Krishna's life, Krishna is one of the most um, magnanimous and the most complete person the world has ever seen. Whether it is in strategy, whether it is in his intelligence, whether it is in his relationships, whether it is in his um, ability to be detached, whether it is in his ability to love. In every aspect, Krishna has so much to offer the world. Um, there are a few things that I strongly feel the world can learn from Krishna. And one of the many things, is the way he respects people. I'll just give you a small example to help you understand how Krishna does this. If you simply study the Bhagavad Gita, there is a very fascinating thing that you will observe in the conversation between Krishna and Arjun in the Gita. Whenever Krishna addresses Arjun in the Bhagavad Gita, every time he addresses Arjun, he uses a different word to address him. He calls him sometimes as Parantapa, he calls him sometimes as Gudakesha, he calls him sometimes as Partha, he calls him sometimes as Savya Sachi. So each word that Krishna calls Arjun by refers to one of the qualities of Arjun. The word Savya Sachi means the one who is ambidextrous. He can use both his hands effectively. The word Gudakesha means the one who has conquered his sleep. The word Dhananjaya means the one who has, acquired unlimited wealth. So many words. So essentially, the way Krishna's vocabulary is, in his vocabulary, he has built appreciation. When you connect with human beings, one of the things that really endears a person to another human being is the way that person is able to appreciate the good qualities of the other person. Praise melts the human heart, isn't it? Anybody who is praised, especially genuine praise, it really melts the human heart. And Krishna is a master at it. Every time he addresses Arjun, he's touching his heart. And Arjun learns that quickly from Krishna. Every time he's calling Krishna by a different name, addressing different qualities of Krishna. I just find that so fascinating about Krishna, that simply by having a conversation, he wins hearts. I feel that if we can simply try to do that in our day-to-day conversations, while having a regular conversation, add in an element of appreciation. It will simply enhance the relationship to another level. It won't seem like artificial. It won't seem like you're kind of trying to please the other person artificially, or trying to flatter the person. It will just be very conversational, and within the conversation there is appreciation going on. And I find that very fascinating in Krishna's personality, and not just with Arjun. He does that with everybody that he meets, and throughout the Mahabharata you'll find Krishna doing that with so many other personalities. And I find that to be a very fascinating lesson to learn from Krishna's life.
So many. And more. Tell me more. There are more lessons. More. I'm hungry to know more.
Yes, absolutely. Krishna is an ocean of wisdom. Um, Lord Krishna, he one of the names of Krishna, he is known as Rasaraj. Rasaraj means king of mellows. So he has an individual connection with every person, and every person he meets, he has a relationship which is unique only to that person. He doesn't have that kind of relationship with anybody else. And it's very difficult to have to be able to be a different person to everyone, because most of us, we have a very set personality, and we have a very set behavior, and naturally in our conversations and in our relationship with people, uh, you can almost predict how you're going to behave, how you're going to deal. Krishna is completely unpredictable. You cannot do that, because with every person he has a very unique relationship. Like with his friends in Vrindavan, the relationship that he had was so informal. The same Krishna, when he comes to Mathura, his behavior completely changes. With the people of Mathura, the common men of Mathura, Krishna's relationship was very different, more formal. With uh, some, like say for example, when Krishna met Kubja in Mathura, he had a very different type of connection with her. He had a relationship which was almost um, something on the borderline of between conjugal and and respect. And with Arjun, he had such depth of friendship with personalities like Vyasdev. Krishna has such a different flavor of relationship. With his brother Balaram, he has such a different flavor relationship. Within his queens, he had so many queens, 8 principal queens. With each queen, he had a very different relationship, completely different from what it was with the gopis of Vrindavan. So I personally feel this fascinating.
How did he
If we
prioritize?
can, and
When he had
pardon?
so many, how did he prioritize? How did he prioritize
Yes.
relationships? Because with limited
The
time,
way
how do you
I
prioritize?
understand, yeah,
Did he?
the way I understand Krishna is when he was present with that person, he gave 100% to that person.
Attention.
And the way he prioritized and the way he connected with people is by first understanding them. Krishna did not speak the Bhagavad Gita, begin speaking the Bhagavad Gita till the second chapter. The first chapter is practically Arjun speaking his thoughts. Krishna did not speak because he first wanted to understand the mindset of Arjun. Only when he spent sufficient time understanding by listening to him, then he spoke because he understood him fully. Many times we are very eager to speak without understanding what the other person is trying to say because it's difficult to listen, isn't it? And Krishna is a mastered listening. He spends sufficient time listening, and that's the beauty of Krishna throughout the Mahabharata. Every time Krishna opened his mouth, he opened his mouth only after listening sufficiently, and that made him a master in relationships. So when he spoke, he knew the person that he was speaking to, and that's probably something that we can learn from, how to just keep our mouth shut, observe, absorb, and then speak.
Sana, yours? Otherwise, I go.
Shubhaji, how
She
can
gets, she's got tears of joy of learning in her eyes.
um, how can this is something I as Ma wills it, as Madhari wills it, but ये wheel of birth and rebirth की तरफ बढ़ा जा सकता है where you don't take a rebirth बढ़ा जा सकता है or if they will it they send you back for a higher purpose because does God handpick you sometimes? Does God choose you? Arjuna learnt everything. Arjuna learnt everything through Lord's glance. I sometimes feel the Lord just looked at him and in those few minutes, through his glance, he passed on the divine knowledge to Arjuna. So, Ji Shubhaji.
Krishna is, when he shares with Arjun, there's a very beautiful verse which probably is the answer to your question. He says, Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tatvatah tyaktva deha punarjanma naiti mam eti so Arjuna. Krishna says, Janma karma chame divyam. He says, my birth and activities are divine. And he says, Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tatvatah. If someone understands that my birth and activities are divine, so which means that Krishna is inspiring us to understand him better, understand his birth and activities and the divinity of in both. And he says, if somebody understands this tatvatah in essence, what happens to such a person? Punarjanma naiti. So Krishna says such a person does not have to take a birth again. Tyaktva deha punarjanma naiti. So this is in the Gita. Krishna is assuring us that if someone understands the janma and karma of Krishna nicely, such a person does not have to take birth again. And then he says, Mam eti. Mam eti means that person comes back to me. So this is a personal assurance of Krishna in the Gita. So we simply by reading about Krishna, simply by hearing about Krishna, simply by chanting the names of Krishna, and simply by absorbing ourselves in the personality of Krishna, just that is enough for us to return back to the to Godhead, get out from the cycle of birth and death, and fulfill the purpose of our lives.
जी मम्मी हाँ जी आप पूछिए
I bring him back to I'm bringing, as a typical bureaucrat or a government servant, I'm bringing you back to governance now. Back, what give us the key lessons for the current governance and leadership? What is from message from Gita or the Krishna? But let's focus on, because something which we are all impacted by, the kind of leadership we have. I'm not looking at the world leadership; it's going haywire all over. But our own leadership is showing a lot of resolve and resilience at the moment, and also ethics and morality. Imagine. So, give us what is the key lessons for governance and leadership of current times, and particularly let's focus on India.
See, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you a context of Mahabharata. And, as I'm telling you the context of Mahabharata, you will see that context of Mahabharata is exactly what India needs to know today in terms of how to handle itself and how to handle governance and how to handle leadership. And I'm giving you the
Fantastic.
complete context of it. And you see how I'm not even going to talk about modern names. I'm only going to talk Mahabharata. And you will see how clearly relevant it is today. The Mahabharata talks about three very powerful people: Dhritarashtra, Bhishma, and Drona. These were, Dhritarashtra, Bhishma, and Vidur. These were the oldest personalities in the Mahabharata in the royal kingdom, royal family, right? Each of them by themselves were superpowers. Dhritarashtra had the strength of 10,000 elephants. He was a king, although he was blind. Bhishma, he was the son of Ganga, and Shantanu Maharaj, the heir to the entire Hastinapur, lineage, and he was the disciple of Parashuram himself. And Vidura was a son of Vyasa, and he was absolutely astute, the prime minister of the country, with wisdom that was beyond time. And plus, he was Yamaraj himself. Three superpowers. But the interesting thing the Mahabharata talks about is that these three old people, though themselves they could handle any problem, they didn't create a succession. Each one of them had problems of their own. Bhishma had a problem that he took a vow, for the betterment of society, and that vow became the greatest problem of his life. And he was not ready to break that vow. He was not flexible enough to break that vow. Dhritarashtra, he had strength, he had power, but he was blind. Not just physically, but he was blind to the atrocities done by his own son. He couldn't see clearly. And Vidura, he could see clearly. He had solutions to all problems in life, but he did not have any empowerment. He was a Dasi Putra. He couldn't say anything. So the interesting thing is that these three powerful people, as long as they sat on the throne, as long as they were on top, they dealt with all problems in life. But because they didn't create a succession, they didn't train the next generation properly, we find Duryodhan-like personalities in the next generation. And because, so it's in any organization in the world or any governance in the world, as long as the top people are there, the governance runs, the company runs very well. But the moment the next generation steps in, problems begin. All kinds of infights and all kinds of politics happens. So now here is the Pandavas and the Kauravas together. They are going to be the next succession, But unfortunately, because these three old people didn't spend enough time creating a proper succession and training up these youngsters in the right direction, two people came from outside the organization. Krishna came and began to train the Pandavas. Krishna was not from Hastinapur, he came from Dwarka. And Shakuni came to train the Kauravas. He was not from Hastinapur, he came from Afghanistan. And Krishna and Shakuni became consultants for the Kauravas and Pandavas. And both of them brought in their own way of training. Shakuni brought in his own way of training, and he trained the Kauravas in a principle known as Kanika Niti. I'll explain what Kanika Niti is shortly. Krishna came from Dwaraka, and he began to train the Pandavas using the concept of Shukraniti. So now you'll find that the Kauravas and the Pandavas are getting trained by their own outside consultants. Fortunately for the Pandavas, Krishna had value systems that were similar to the original founders of Hastinapur, and he did not break the value systems of Hastinapur. In fact, he enhanced it further. But Shakuni, he brought in a totally different set of value systems, which were completely against the founders of Hastinapur, completely against. And because he got this from a foreign land, he got it from another country. The system that he got in only was different. Kanika was Shakuni's guru, and Kanika taught Shakuni a principle known as Kanika Niti. And Kanika Niti is very, very simple. Kanika Niti says, hook or crook, get your work done. It doesn't matter if it is right or wrong. It doesn't matter if it is dharmic or not dharmic. As long as you get what you want, you're right. And Shakuni taught that to Duryodhana. And from the time Duryodhana learned Kanika Niti from Shakuni, he became massively egoistic and he became highly arrogant. And obviously, he also started succeeding because Yudhishthir learned Brahaspati Niti from his fathers, from his guru, from his own heart. And what is Brahaspati Niti? Brahaspati Niti says, no matter what, always follow the path of Dharma. And Yudhishthir and the Pandavas always followed the path of righteousness. And in front of them was Kanika Niti. Now, obviously, if Brahaspati Niti comes in front of Kanika Niti, who's going to win? Obviously, Kanika Niti is going to win, which is why the Pandavas went through so much suffering. Bhima was poisoned and almost killed. They were burnt in the in a lac palace. Draupadi was practically stripped. They lost all their wealth. They were cheated in a gambling match. They created the kingdoms were divided and they got a barren piece of land. So practically at every point, Kanika Niti defeated the Brahaspati Niti. And that's when Krishna walked into their life. And Krishna introduced them to the third type of Niti, which is known Shukra Niti. And Shukra Niti says, if your enemy follows the path of Dharma, you follow it. But if your enemy deviates from the path of Dharma, you also deviate.
You also deviate.
Krishna introduces Shukra. You also deviate.
I see.
Yes. Because, of course, Krishna taught this as what is known as Apad Dharma. Apad Dharma is emergency measures. This is not something that is supposed to be done all the time. Practically, Krishna inspired the Pandavas to follow Shukra Niti only a few days in their entire life. And within those 18 days of war, not even all the 18 days, only within those 18 days, 4 days they followed Shukra Niti. Literally 4 days. And they did what they needed to do. But the principle of Shukra Niti is it has to be an emergency. It has to be a situation which is a do or die. That's why it's called Apad Dharma. Apad Dharma means emergency measures. Like, for example, if a police is chasing a criminal and there is a traffic signal, should the police stop? Obviously not. Because if you're trying to do something more important, you can break a lower rule, isn't it? Telling a lie is not good. But if that lie is going to help a greater good, it is going to help thousands and millions of people later on, that lie is better than the truth. So this is called Apad Dharma. It's an emergency and certain measures have to be taken in emergency. And once that emergency is over, you go back to Brahaspati Niti. Krishna never asked Yudhishthira to follow Shukra Niti for life. There was an emergency, and in that emergency, he made him follow. And the moment the emergency was over, Krishna walked out of their life, and he allowed them to follow Brahaspati Niti for the rest of their lives. And that is what Shukra Niti is, and that is what the brilliance of Krishna's presence in the life of the Pandavas is. Shakuni made Duryodhana dependent on him. Krishna made the Pandavas independent and empowered. He didn't create a sense of dependence as much as Shakuni created in Duryodhana. Duryodhana couldn't take decisions without Shakuni's consultation. Practically in everything, cry and go to Shakuni. But the way Krishna trained the Pandavas, he was there with them when they needed. But beyond a certain, throughout the Mahabharata, you don't find Krishna's voice. Arjuna and the Pandavas are taking their own decisions. Only when they are super confused and they just don't know what to do, then Krishna stands up. This is the kind of empowerment and this is the kind of empowered leadership that the world needs today. And this is the kind of course, Krishna was very bold in pushing them towards Shukriniti. Otherwise, technically, most people would get scared to even propose Shukriniti because they will say, "How can we do anything bad?" But sometimes a little bad has to be done to
It's not
rectify
bad.
a
The
greater
problem is
bad.
the intention. Very important in Shukraniti is the intention. The intention.
Yes,
The motive and the intention.
greater good. Yeah, the greater good has to be it can't be a selfish agenda. It is not for your benefit. It is for the benefit of greater good. So whenever a
Greater.
decision is taken in an emergency for a greater good, that is technically what Shukriniti speaks about.
Oh, well.
And of course,
not-
it is under the guidance of Krishna.
That's right.
Shubhaji, while you were sharing this, one word that was coming, one emotion that was coming to my mind, because that's what 9 माँ की माँ भगवती, माँ धारी, माँ दुर्गा के जो 9 रूप हैं, वो नीति के साथ एक शब्द जो बहुत रेजोनेट करा जब आप बोल रहे थे, वो था सत्य. इफ यू आर एम्बेडेड इन सत्य, अगर आपने अपने पैर सत्य में जमाए हुए हैं, फिर आप अपना माइंड अप्लाई करिए हर सिचुएशन के लिए. लेकिन आपका जो दिल है और आपकी नीयत है और आपके जो पैर हैं, वो सत्य में जड़े हुए होने.
Rooted.
मैं आपसे सिर्फ एक छोटा सा सवाल करना चाह रही हूँ ऑन लीडरशिप, एंड देन समय पूरा हो रहा है. 2 बातें मन में आ रही है, एक दुर्योधन से आ रही है और एक और मन में बात आ रही है. ये आजकल भी होता है. दुर्योधन could not be the leader, so he sank the entire ship. Just because somebody can't be the leader or be the head, you sink the entire ship. That's one thought. The other thought, to be a leader, you need a team. हमको पता होता है कि मेरे अंदर लीडरशिप है या मेरे अंदर एक I'm a part of a team. I'm in it for sustenance, or I'm here to lead for a larger vision. But आप उसको टीम बोलेंगे कि अगर उनको ये भी बोलना पड़ रहा है कि ईंटें उठाकर लाओ. When you're building something, if you have to even tell them that pick up the brick and bring it here, is that a team? Then you relate to them in a very, very different manner. So it's not always possible that everybody will have the same vision. So how important is it to even know your team, assess your team, and then self-lead for the higher vision? Ji Shubha ji.
The difference between the Pandavas and Kauravas is every person in the Pandava army was fitting into one common vision and they had one common purpose, which was the establishment of Dharma. But in the Kaurava army, everyone came for a different purpose. Bhishma came because he had made a promise. Whoever sits on the throne, I'll be with that person. Drona came because he loved his son Ashwatthama. If Ashwatthama is not there, he would not have fought. Karna came because he wanted to kill Arjun. If that was not his goal, he would not have fought. Practically everyone who came in that team, each one of them, Shalya came because he was tricked into coming there. So each one that came, they came for a different purpose only. Shakuni came. Many people say he came because he wanted to avenge the death of his own family, and he wanted to take revenge from the Kauravas. So he came. So each one had their own personal agenda, and there was no common single agenda. That's the difference between the Kauravas and the Pandavas. And that's what makes the Pandavas a team, and it makes Kauravas a herd of people.
How fantastic. How beautifully we could conclude that difference between a team and a herd in governance and administration.
जी.
Shubha ji, feel like going on listening to you. बहुत मजा, बहुत अच्छा है, बहुत आनंद आया. बहुत आनंद आया.
Always a pleasure to be with you all, and your questions are all unique, so it brings different
You are
things
so
out of
learned.
me.
What a treasure you are for the country and the world as a whole. You are a treasure. May God continue to bless you and keep. We'd love to see you this book again. We want to share this book with all our listeners and readers. Don't miss this. And it says book one. Now, what do you mean by book one? What is to follow? What's to follow, Shubhaji?
This series is called Icons of Mahabharat. It's a series
Okay.
of 6 books, of
Oh,
which
I
this is the
see.
first book. So each
Oh,
book in the
wow.
series will be different characters on Mahabharat. So the first character is Krishna. I thought I should start with Krishna, who is like the in the heart of the Mahabharat, and then the second book will be on Arjun. The third book will be on Vidur. The fourth book will be on Bhishma. The fifth book will be on Yudhishthir, and the sixth book will be on
Wow.
Kunti Maharani. So that's the way the books will
Wow.
be. So the first half of the book is stories from their life in the Mahabharat with lessons that we can learn from the stories. And the second half of the book is teachings from each of these characters. Like in this book, I have teachings from Krishna, which is Bhagavad Gita. So if Krishna had to answer a modern man, with his most important questions of life, what would Krishna say, and what would those answers be? That's the style in which I have written the Bhagavad Gita here.
Fantastic. Why don't you open a school of your own so that we can all take admission and learn from you?
Eventually, maybe someday in future, my aim and dream of life is to open a university of Ramayana and Mahabharat, where
Please do.
I can teach the Ramayana and Mahabharat in great detail, having a degree, a master's, a PhD. Focusing completely on Ramayana and Mahabharat research
Please do.
with your
Please do.
blessings and hopefully
Please
divine
do.
will.
And if one has age enough, one would love to be your student. Thank you so much for being who you are and what you continue to give and contribute to enrichment of this country. Thank you so much. We are so blessed.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Very, very grateful for your encouragement and for always being there. It's such a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your very valuable time. I know we've taken an hour and a half out of you. You would have probably written another chapter of a book. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Shubhaji. Pranam
Thank
ji.
you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Jai Dhari
Hare
Ma
Krishna.
Shubhaji.
Thank you. Thank
Hare
you.
Thank
Krishna.
you. Hare
Jai
Krishna.
Dhari Ma. Jai
Thank you.
Dhari Ma.